Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. Today we have our Week 15 Sunday games, and unfortunately I didn't get all the changes that I wanted to in for today, but we'll just stick with our regular data, so let's get right to it. Getting into the first game on our list, we have Cleveland at Chicago, where Chicago is favored on the money line with a spread of 7.5 and a total point line of 38.5. Here's their seasonal averages if you want to look through that, while I cover their league rankings, with Cleveland having a pretty bad offense overall, a 29 rank of scoring, a 28 rank of passing, a 27 rank of rushing. They are notably much better at their tight end spot with the ranking of 4. Defensively, it's a little better with an allowed scoring rank of 17, allowed passing rank of 2, allowed rushing rank of 13, and allowed tight end rank of 14. For Chicago, you have a mid to upper offense with a scoring rank of 8, passing rank of 16, a rushing rank of 2, and a tight end rank of 12. Notably, this really good rushing rank of 2, which I think they've held on to for quite some time. However, your defensive side looks much worse, with an allowed scoring rank of 25, allowed passing rank of 19, allowed rushing rank of 27, and allowed tight end rank of 21. Getting into the player data, you have your quarterbacks with Shedeur Sanders and Caleb Williams. Shedeur has been averaging 13.9 fantasy points per game over the 4 games that he's played, and Williams has been averaging 18.4 fantasy points per game. Just like before, here's their seasonal averages. While I look over their turnovers, with Sanders having 3 interceptions this season, and Caleb Williams has 6 interceptions this season, with 1 fumble lost due to a sack. And then just looking at their rushing share to see how they impact the game. So you have Shedeur here, who doesn't have anything right now, even though he does have a little bit, but it's about probably less than 1% because I take it out when there's too much noise like that. For Williams, you're at 16.8% of the rushing carry share and 17.1% of the rushing yard share. For your running backs, you have Quinshon Judkins and DeAndre Swift, with Judkins averaging 12.9 fantasy points per game and Swift averaging 14.1. And then with their averages, the only turnovers you have as well come from Swift with 2 rushing fumbles this season. And then for their share, you have Judkins with a obvious majority at 71.9% of the rushing carry share and 74% of the rushing yard share. And anybody else seems to share pretty evenly on the team. With DeAndre Swift, you have a little bit of a different story, getting only 44.7% of the rushing carries and 44.7% of the rushing yards, with a pretty large majority, a little bit more than a third, going to his backup. Next up, we have our number 1 receivers with Jerry Jeudy and Romo Duns, who still is questionable but does look to play, I think, so just keep an eye on that. Jerry Jeudy averages 7.5 fantasy points per game, and O'Dunn's averages 12.2. And then here's your seasonal averages and their week by week numbers. And then we're looking at the turnovers. The only one you have is from Jerry Jeudy with 1 receiving fumble. And if you need to take a closer look, go ahead and give the video a pause. But looking at their share, you have Jerry Jeudy with 21.4% of the target share and 20.5% of the receiving yard share, which is not quite the largest on the team, but pretty close. And with Romo Duns, you get 22.7% of the target share and 22.8% of the receiving yard share, and that is the largest of anybody else on the team. Your number 2 receivers are Cedric Tillman and DJ Moore, where Tillman is also listed as questionable, so again, check on that before the game starts. But Tillman averages 5.5 fantasy points per game, and Moore averages 9.5. With their season averages, and with no turnovers, we're going to go straight into the charts, where you have Tillman getting about 8.8% of the target share and 8.2% of the receiving yard share, which is a pretty small amount, but he was out for a few weeks in there too, so he's probably lagging some of the team. With DJ Moore, you're at 16.6% of the target share and 17.2% of the receiving yard share, and that appears to be the second largest of anybody on the team. And then we have our tight ends with Harold Fanning and Colston Loveland, with Fanning averaging 11.1 fantasy points per game and Loveland averaging 8.5. Following the usual routine, along with looking at the turnovers, you have Fanning with 1 rushing fumble and Loveland with no turnovers. And then looking at their share, you have Fanning with 21.4% of the target share and 25.6% of the receiving yard share, which is the largest of anybody else on the team. And for Loveland, you get 12.4% of the target share and 15% of the receiving yard share. And that wraps up all the data for this game. Just a few notable things that stick out to me is that you have Chicago with a better offense going against a decent defense, and then a pretty bad offense going against a pretty bad defense. So they're kind of matched up pretty well in that regard. Individually, though, their passing rank of 16 here against his passing rank of 2 means that Cleveland has the advantage, but it's vice versa for the rushing game. And really, the scoring rank of 8 is a huge factor against this scoring rank of 17. Vice versa, these numbers are just a little worse than some of these defensive numbers, but they're about even if you really go match them up. So the advantage still seems to live with Chicago here, and being in Chicago too, they have that extra factor. So I definitely would lean more towards Chicago in this game, but we'll just have to see how it turns out. And there's all your pregame data. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on what else you'd want to see in the future. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.